I have all kinds of friends, and they have lots of different opinions about a lot of things, including doctrine. Some of my friends on one side of the spectrum will say doctrine's not important, doctrine, schmoctrine, dogma, bah humbug. And I have friends on the other side of the spectrum who think doctrine is incredibly important. They could probably write a theology book off the top of their head, and they can certainly sniff out my doctrine or your doctrine from a football field away. And I think there's problems with both positions. Tim Keller gives a great definition of doctrine. He said doctrine is made up of three things. First, it's something we believe. Second, it's something that we believe with all our heart, so much so that we trust our entire life to it. And third, it's something we believe so much that we try to persuade other people to believe in it too. And so my friends who don't believe in doctrine, they actually have a doctrine. They say to me, Sam, you don't need doctrine, just love each other. And what they're doing is they're saying, number one, they believe that you don't need doctrine. Number two, they're believing with all their heart. They're really believing that God doesn't care what they think or what they believe, and all they have to do is love. And thirdly, they're trying to persuade me to adopt their position. It's also got a problem for my doctrinaire friends, because a lot of those friends believe the doctrine in their head, but they don't really believe it in their heart. They don't believe it with all their heart. So they believe in the resurrection in their head, but in their heart they live as though Jesus is still in the tomb. In their head they believe that Christ has brought us freedom, but in their heart they live as though they're still slaves, crushed under an oppression of legalism and shame and sin. So really when we ask, what's the problem with doctrine? It's two problems. One is, if you don't admit you have a doctrine, then you're being susceptible to all kinds of other beliefs that are deep in your heart that you haven't examined because you say you don't believe in doctrine. And secondly, if you do believe in doctrine, but if you just let it go into your head and not into your heart, then you haven't exploded with the truth of the gospel. When the disciples were on the road to Emmaus and Jesus unveils the scriptures to them, the disciples said later on, were not our hearts burning within us? Let's examine our hearts. Let's examine our hearts, not our heads. Let's examine our hearts and say, what are the real deep core beliefs that I believe in my heart? Let's root out those that aren't from Christ, and let's plant those that are from Christ.